After studying this module, you shall be able to understand the concept of marketing environment, identify and analyze the various micro and macro factors that have an effect on business, learn how business can successfully deal with the micro and macro factors. For a business organization, managing the exchange process between the firm and the customer is of utmost priority, but it is impossible to carry out this function without considering the effects of customer-based decisions on other people and organizations. Since the business organization does not operate in vacuum, it needs to take into consideration all its stakeholders, individuals, and organizations that are affected by the organization's activities. For example, neighbors, suppliers, competitors, customers, government, etc. Since all these will have a direct or indirect bearing on the marketing decisions of the business organization. Now I'll discuss the concept of marketing environment. Marketing environment refers to all the factors and forces that affect the total business organization's ability to build and maintain successful relationship with its target audience. In other words, it includes all the factors that have an effect on the strategies, policies, and decisions of the organization. According to Barry M. Richman and Melvin Copane, environment consists of factors that are largely, if not totally, external and beyond the control of the individual industrial enterprise and their managements. These are essentially the givers within which the firms and their management must operate in a specific country, and they vary often greatly from country to country. The factors that constitute the environment can be divided into micro and macro factors. Micro factors include the elements that affect the individual business organization only, whereas the macro factors affect the whole industry. The marketing environment in which the businesses operate is ever-changing. The success of business organizations depend to a large extent on how it interacts and aligns with the environment. If the marketing manager is slow in responding to the changes in the environmental factors, it can affect an organization's short-term as well as the long-term prospects. The marketing manager needs to continuously examine and monitor the changes in the environment, and it can be done through environmental scanning and environmental analysis. Now I'll discuss what is environmental scanning. Environmental scanning is the process through which the marketers gather data about various components of the environment. Scanning of the environment could be through secondary sources such as statistics by the government agencies, trade and business publications, or through primary sources such as personal observation. Internet is also being increasingly used as a scanning tool. Now I'll discuss about the environment analysis. The environment analysis is the process by which the marketing manager assesses and interprets the data gathered through environmental scanning. The data is assessed by the marketing manager on criteria such as accuracy, source, credibility, relevance, and comprehensiveness. Once assessed, the data is interpreted so that the marketing manager can present the state of environment, and expected changes can be predicted at a reasonable time. The business organization, through continuous scanning and analysis, will be able to identify current and expected threats and opportunities, and will be able to manage his company effectively. Now I will discuss the micro marketing environment. The micro marketing environment means those elements of the environment that impinge an individual business organization or a particular industry, but do not affect all businesses in all industries, constitutes the microenvironment. The factors constituting the microenvironments are as follows. Number one is the company. All the departments in an organization, from finance to manufacturing to purchases, have the potential to positively or negatively impact the satisfaction level of the consumers. As a result, the marketing department has to work closely with all the departments so that they can identify the ways by which each department can contribute in delivering the exceptional customer value and superior customer satisfaction. The next factor is the suppliers. A business organization relies on vendors and firms to supply raw materials, labor, utilities, equipment to produce and deliver goods. A key supplier goes a long way in building a business organization's competitive advantage. The factors and events that affect the suppliers have the potential of affecting the business organization and ultimately the satisfaction level of the customers. Losing an important supplier can disrupt the production schedule. The marketing department formulates its marketing strategy, keeping the risk factors such as quality of supplies, supply chain costs, availability of raw materials, etc. in mind. The next factor being marketing intermediaries. Marketing intermediaries refers to the people and businesses like banks, financial institutions, venture capitalists, wholesalers, retailers, transportation companies, marketing research firms, and public relation firms that help the business organizations to promote, sell, and distribute its products to the final buyers. The marketing manager needs to take into consideration the marketing intermediaries while formulating the strategies for the organizations. Next important factor is the customers. Customers refers to the individual, the households, the organizations that purchase a product for use in the production of other products, or an organization that purchases a product for resale at a profit. Satisfaction of customers is the primary objective of any business. So if a business organization does not have customers, they can't sell anything. However, the customers of the organization are all not same. The marketing manager needs to study the needs of the customers on a continuous basis. They also need to anticipate how their need is developing so that they are able to meet their needs efficiently and effectively. The marketer also needs to study 5 categories of customer markets. These 5 categories include consumer markets, business markets, reseller markets, government markets, and international markets. I will take them one by one. Consumer market. It consists of individuals and households that buy products and services for their own personal use. Business markets. These customers are popularly known as business-to-business customers or B2B customers. The products and services they buy are further processed or used in their internal business processes. Resellers. These customers purchase products and services to resell them to others with the motive of earning profits. Government markets. It refers to government agencies who buy products and services to provide public services or to those who they deem need them. International markets. These set of customers reside in other countries other than the country in which the business organization is operating. These customers could be consumers, businesses, resellers, as well as the government. Generally, a business organization sells its products and services to multiple markets. The marketing manager needs to have a separate marketing plan to sell their products and services to its distinct type of customers. Next factor is the competitors. The competitors of the organization refer to the business organizations that market or produce a similar product or a close substitute of the product manufactured by the organization. In the Indian business environment, no business organization can enjoy the position of monopoly because of cutthroat competition. Moreover, globalization is promoting competition and making it difficult for the domestic organizations to survive and win over the competitors. The actions and reactions of competitors have the ability to affect the performance of the business organization directly or indirectly. So it is imperative for the organization to build its strategic advantage by identifying the weaknesses of the customers and make it its own strength. Next factor being the public. Public refer to a group of individuals who have an actual or potential interest in or impact on an organization's ability to achieve its objectives. Public consists of the following. Number one being media public. It consists of newspapers, blogs, magazines, journals, radio and television outlets. Any statement published by any one of them about the business organization, whether favorable or unfavorable, has the ability to positively or adversely affect the brand image of the organization. The business organization can maintain relationships with these extremely valuable public via PR, media releases, VNRs, interviews, and open invitations to review the products and services being offered by the organization. The next is the local public. It refers to the individual that stay near the business organization and can affect the operation of the business. For example, if the factory of organization emits pollution, the local public may file a complaint against the business organization and compel it to close down the operations completely. The business organization should appoint a community relation officer whose job would be to meet the local community on a regular basis, solve their problems and answer their questions. The next in line is citizen action public. It refers to the government or independent agencies such as Bureau of Indian Standards, Customs and Excise Department, ISO, which means International Standard Organization, consumer organizations, environmental groups and minority groups that work towards the protection of consumer interests. The business organization should be in touch with the representatives of these groups to keep abreast with any of their concerns and problems that might have an effect on the organization's business and marketing practices. Internal public. It refers to the employees that work within the business organization. For smooth functioning of the organization, it is essential for the business to maintain amicable and healthy relationships with employees. In large organizations employing thousands of workers, workers form labor unions. The business organizations need to skillfully tackle these labor unions so as to avoid the possibility of lockouts and strikes, which may disturb the functioning of the business. Financial public. Financial public refers to the banks, the financial institutions, the investment houses, and the stockholders. The relationship that business organizations have with the financial public has a direct influence on the organization's ability to procure funds for investment in projects, in getting favorable repayment options, and whether other publics will choose to enter into contracts with the organization or not. Government public. It is very essential for the management of the business organization to take into consideration the policies and laws being made and being amended by the government and consult government officials, their lawyers and lobbyists. The management is required to keep an eye on the current state of rules, regulations and laws that can have an effect on the production of the product being manufactured by the business organization. The day-to-day operations of the business and the techniques that can be employed to sell the products being manufactured. The next type of public is the general public. The business organization needs to take into consideration the attitude and the perceptions of the general public towards their products and services. The way the general public perceives the business organization and its products and services and brand has the ability to affect the buying habits of the consumers. With that, we end up our micro environment. The next is the macro marketing environment. I will now discuss what is macro marketing environment. Macro environment consists of the factors and forces that are external and not specific to any industry. These factors are beyond the control of a specific business organization, and the organization needs to adjust its activities and strategies in order to be successful in their operations. The factors constituting the macro environments are as follows. Number one being the demographic environment. Demography is the study of the human population in terms of size, density, location, age, sex, race, occupation, and other statistics. Marketers have keen interest in the demographic factors as it is the study of people, and people make up markets. The demographic factors that have significant implications for the marketers will be discussed now. Number one being the size and the growth of the population. The population size and the growth rate of the population are important determinants of demand for several products. Hugely populated countries like India and China generally serve as big markets for various products. India, with 2.4% of the total land area of the world, supports 16% of the world population. In India, the population has grown nearly 4 times in the last 60 years. So illiteracy, early marriage of women, poverty leading to a high birth rate, limited adoption of family planning are some of the reasons that have led to the rapid population growth in India. Moreover, the development in the field of medicine has led to a fall in the death rate, which has also led to the increase in the population. The next factor being the age structure. Age distribution indicates that on an average that a person has to earn for himself and for one dependent also. The increased lifespan of the population is causing significant change in the age distribution of population. Comparatively, India is a young nation where the dependency ratio is likely to decline and the proportion of working population is likely to increase. This changing age structure could serve as a catalyst for the growth of business organizations. Next factor in demographic structure is the occupational structure. It refers to the division of population according to different occupations. Occupations can be classified into primary and secondary. Primary occupations include agriculture, forestry, fishing, and mining, etc., whereas secondary includes manufacturing, building, construction, etc. And the third being the tertiary sector, which includes transportation, commerce, communication, and other services. The occupational structure of India has always been dominated by agriculture. However, with the economic progress, there has been a prominent shift from secondary to tertiary activities. The understanding of the occupational distribution of working population can help business organizations in designing and marketing their products effectively. The next point in line is urbanization. Urbanization refers to the movement of people from villages to the town or cities where economic activities are centered around non-agricultural occupations such as trade, manufacturing, industry, and management. Urbanization is closely related with industrial revolution and economic development. There is a progressive increase in the number and proportion of people residing in urban areas. The percentage of urban population in total population has gone up from 17.1% in 1951 to 27.8% in 2001 to 31.2% in 2011. However, India still continues to be predominantly rural. This movement of people opens plethora of opportunities for the marketers. Apart from the above mentioned factors, characteristics such as literacy level, the income level, the ethnic composition, the life expectancy, family size are also other demographic factors that have an effect on the working of the business organization. The demographic characteristics keep changing over time. So, it is essential for the marketers to monitor these factors on a regular basis as they represent significant opportunities and threats for the business organization. After demographic, we will now discuss the economic environment. Economic environment includes all those economic factors which have a bearing on the functioning of the business organization. Business is one unit of the total economy, and the business organization depends on the economic environment for all the inputs that they need, and they need to sell finished goods. The factors that constitute the economic environment are: number one, the nature of economic system. Economic system refers to the organized way in which a country allocates its resources and apportions goods and services in the national community. Broadly, the economic system is divided into three groups. The first one being the capitalism. Capitalism, also called as the free market economy, is characterized by free enterprise and profit motive. All decisions of the business with regard to production, distribution, consumption are based on the price mechanisms. The factors of the productions are owned privately, and the production takes place at the initiative of the private enterprise. Second being the socialism, also called the communist economic system. The state owns all the factors of production in this kind of system. All major decisions of the business with regard to production, distribution and consumption are made by the state through central planning. The third type of system being the mixed economy. In a mixed economy like India, both public and private sectors coexist. Certain sectors of the economy are owned by the state, while others are left for the private enterprises. The private sector works for profit, but under certain conditions and regulations imposed by the government. Structural anatomy. The structural anatomy consists of the structure of the national output, the occupational distribution of labor force, capital formation, composition of trade, investment pattern, 5-year plans, and the balance and imbalance between different sectors. Role of government is another factor. The working of the business is greatly influenced by the policies such as fiscal policies, monetary policies, industrial regulations, import-export policies, etc. set by the government. Any change made by the government in any of these policies can have a positive or a negative effect on the working of the business. Markets. The business organization's economic environment also includes the markets from which it buys and sells, raises funds, gets labor, etc. The conditions in the market invariably influences the working of the business organization. After discussing the demographic and the economic environment, now we come on to the natural environment, which impacts the business organization. The natural environment or the physical environment refers to all the ecological and geographical forces and factors that influence the operations of the business organization. Business organizations need to function within the framework of various aspects of nature, such as climatic conditions, natural resources, changes in the weather, topological conditions, etc. Moreover, the business organizations make use of natural resources as raw materials for the products, and at the same time, these natural resources are affected by the firm's activities. There is a great concern over the deterioration of the natural environment, particularly issues like greenhouse gases in the atmosphere due to burning of the fossil fuels, global warming, and depletion of ozone layer due to certain chemicals released by certain industries. The following are the 4 major trends in natural environment that business organizations are facing. Number 1 being the shortage of raw materials. Most of the natural resources like oil, coal, fresh water, petroleum, etc. are scarce and expensive, which limits the ability of the business organizations to produce the products efficiently. Therefore, business organizations must try to minimize the wastages. The second being increased cost of energy. Oil as a source of energy is becoming increasingly scarce. At the same time, the oil prices have reached new heights. Therefore, business organizations must consider the alternative forms of energy like wind, solar and nuclear energy. Increased pollution levels is another factor. Rising pollution levels has become a cause of major concern. Consequently, many business organizations have relocated and many have been forced to invest in pollution control equipment. Next factor being increased government intervention. Governments all over the world are actively enforcing laws and norms to protect the environment. For example, in Delhi only, the government has passed the rule that all the public transportation vehicles like auto rickshaw, buses, etc. should use compressed natural gas, that is CNG, as fuel instead of diesel and petrol. Businesses are increasingly becoming aware of these environmental trends and hence have begun to practice corporate environmentalism. Corporate environmentalism is the recognition of the importance of environmental issues facing the business organization and the integration of these issues into the business organization's strategic plans. Many companies are now engaging in emissions abatement and are developing environmentally sustainable strategies. Consumers now also want to buy products that are eco-friendly. Therefore, it would be in the firm's best interest to recognize the link between healthy economy and unhealthy environment. So the next environment is the technological environment. Technology can be defined as the systematic application of scientific and other organized knowledge to practical tasks. Technological environment refers to the state of science and technology in the country, the rate of technological progress, and the institutional arrangement for the development and application of new technology. The factors that determine the technological environment of a country are as follows. Number 1, the facilities for technical education, training and research in the country. Number 2, the spirit for experimentation, innovation and enterprise in the human resources of the country. Number 3, incentives for research and development. Number 4, compensation systems and promotion policies for persons engaged in scientific and industrial research. Number 5, laws for protection of intellectual property rights. Number 6, access to foreign technology. 7, government participation in scientific and technological development. And lastly, monetary and fiscal concessions for intensive research and development in the private sector. Technological environment is one of the fastest changing components of the macro environment, and it includes forces that create new technologies, new products, marketing opportunities, making it imperative for the organizations to adapt to the change in technology in their systems and thus gain competitive advantage. The technology adopted by the business organization determines the type and quality of the goods produced. Impact of political and legal environment. Political environment comprises the elements relating to government affairs. It serves as the regulatory framework within which the business needs to operate. The political and legal environment consists of the following constituents. Number 1, constitution of the country. 2, image of the country and its leaders. 3, the political party in power, its philosophy and ideology. 4, the nature and extent of bureaucracy, the influence of primary groups in the working of the business. 5, political stability, that is the structure of military and police force, election system, law and order situation. And lastly, the foreign policies adopted by the country. Two major trends that have taken place in the political legal environment are as follows. Number 1 being increase in the business legislation. Business legislation have increased steadily over the last few years. The reason being to protect the customers from unfair practices, to protect the companies from unfair competition, to protect the interests of the society from unbridled business activities, and to charge businesses with the social costs created by their products and production processes. Hence, countries all over the world have actively started passing strong consumer protection legislations. For example, in India only, it is necessary for all the packaged food products to carry a green dot to denote vegetarian products and a red dot to indicate non-vegetarian products. Similarly, there are restrictions on some products as to whom they should be targeted. For example, cigarettes should not be marketed to younger population. Growth of special interest groups. The growth of special interest groups has created serious implications for the business organizations. Consumer movements are being organized in various parts of the world in an attempt to strengthen the rights and powers of the buyers in relation to sellers. For example, in India, government has passed legislation under the Consumer Protection Act 1986 to protect the interests of the consumers. 6 rights of the consumers have been recognized. These rights include the first one being the right to safety, that is, the right to be protected against the marketing of goods and services that are hazardous to life and property. Number 2, right to information, protection against unfair trade practices and the right to be informed about the quality, quantity, purity, standard and price. Third right being the right to choose a variety of products and services at a competitive prices. The fourth is the right to representation. This is the right to be heard and be assured that the customer's interests are received due considerations at appropriate forums. Number 5, right to redressal. That is the right to seek redressal against unfair and restrictive trade practices and exploitation of consumers. And the last being the right to consumer education. The legislation has also established consumer dispute redressal forums at different levels. Apart from this, many voluntary consumer interest groups are actively taking up issues on behalf of consumers. The viability of the business organization depends upon the ability with which it can meet the challenges arising out of the political legal environment. The next factor is the socio-cultural environment that puts an impact on the decisions of the marketer. The socio-cultural environment of a country refers to the characteristics of the society in which a business organization operates. It consists of the following. Number 1, the demographic forces in terms of size, composition and mobility. 2, social institutions and groups. 3, caste structure and family organization. 4, education system and literacy rate. 5, customs, attitudes, beliefs, values and lifestyle. And last, the 6th one is taste, preferences of people and their buying behavior. Socio-cultural factors are very important in the forming of marketing strategies. These factors have direct impact on the consumer thinking and their buying behavior. The regional differences in values, traditions, languages, customs, social systems, habits, beliefs and religions make the socio-cultural environment even more complex. Marketers must therefore adjust their strategies accordingly. For example, since cow is considered sacred in India, McDonald's had to stop the offering of products containing beef and introduced products like Mac Aloo Tikki and Mac Spicy Paneer to meet the taste and preferences of the Indian customers. Product and brand preferences also differ from region to region. Keeping this in mind, Hindustan Unilever Limited came out with different blends of tea under the same brand name to cater to the different and specific needs of the consumers belonging to different regions. Continuous monitoring of the socio-cultural environment is essential for a business organization so that they can understand the consumers better and fulfill their needs in the most effective manner. Now, after finishing about the impact of micro and macro environment on the marketing decisions, we need to summarize the chapter. Number 1, a business organization does not operate in vacuum. it needs to take into consideration a number of stakeholders before taking marketing decisions. Number 2, marketing environments refers to all the factors and forces that affect business organizations' ability to build and maintain successful relationships with its target audience. The factors that constitute the environment can be divided into 2 factors, micro and macro. Micro factors are the elements that affect only the individual organizations, and macro factors are the factors that affect the whole industry. Number 4, environmental scanning is the process through which marketers gather data about various components of the environment. Number 5, environmental analysis is the process by which the marketing manager assesses and interprets the data gathered through environmental scanning. Number 6, those elements of the environment that impinge an individual business organization or a particular industry but do not affect all businesses in all industries constitute the microenvironment. The microenvironment factors are the company, the suppliers, the marketers, the intermediaries, the customers, the competitors, and the public. Number 6, those factors that are not specific to any particular industry and are beyond the control of the business organization constitute the macro environment and includes demographic, economic, natural, technological, political, legal, and socio-cultural factors.